Luther King Jr. for his broad social impact? Yeah, a couple of us. How many of you admire him as a powerful speaker? A few more. How about as an advocate for nonviolence? All right, these are the classic reasons we admire Dr. King, and I admire him for these reasons to be sure. But I also admire Dr. King for his anger. Martin Luther King was a man of peace, it's true. But he was also a man of furious honesty, a kind of sacred outrage at the fundamental injustices of the society in which he stood. Now, in my work with homeless youth, I see 16-year-olds who run away from the foster system because they're abused by their foster parents, and when they're picked up by social service agencies, they return them by law to the foster system. I see 18-year-olds who are just trying to get by. They sleep in parking lots, but they get moved along by security guards and police officers. So they find other parking lots, but they get moved on again. So finally they decide, we'll go to the shelters, only to find that the shelters are full. And where do we put them? In the parking lot across the street. No ordinary parking lot would do. We've got to put them in the one with the pedophiles. Now, maybe homelessness isn't your issue. Maybe it's the environment, the health system, education, war spending, the economy, race, class, gender, sex, and justice. Whatever issues are close to your heart, I promise you this. We do Dr. King no favors to join in celebration of the changes he made if we fail to join him in anger about the changes that remain unmade. And in that bright light of sacred outrage, we see the path ahead. Roused from our complacency, we act. Now, some people want to make suffering and inequity about government and politics. If only we voted better, we'd have better government. And if we had better government, we'd have better policies. And with better policies, all these problems would pass. And while I'm not knocking voting, I believe that being a citizen is more than just voting. All citizens equally constitute a democracy, which is a fancy way of saying that we are the government. All of us, each of us. And if we see a problem, we should not just vote about it, we should solve it. Now, it's true, my life would get way easier if a major government body would quadruple spending on homeless services. But in the meantime, there's a lot of work to do. So we fundraise, recruit, train, and serve, because homeless youth need food, water, clothing, hygiene, blankets, job leads, educational support, professional development, the list goes on. But that list is all things that we can do together. Deciding to make social change as an individual can be intimidating, and I am sure that Martin Luther King Jr. himself was daunted. But the trick was that King didn't work alone. He worked in a community. Now, a community isn't just our friends. It's not just the people who look like us, or think like us, or talk like us. Community is bigger than that. It's the place that is made wet when the rain falls. It's the place that is touched when the wind blows. We are in community with all of the people who share our space. Community is not built by our walls. It's a group of people who live together to help each other. Now, under the small conception of community, just the people like us, service to others is a big deal, a major ordeal. But if you broaden your conception of community to all the people in a place, regardless of how wealthy they are, whether or not they have a home, whether or not they have a job, whether or not they have the same ideology as us, when we broaden our conception of community, suddenly helping others becomes obvious. It's the only thing to do, because they're a part of us and we're a part of them. And that's what we do for our brothers and our sisters. So when you see speakers or performers or teachers who honor Dr. King, I encourage you, pay attention and reflect on their rendering of his legacy. But more so, I invite you to join that legacy. And that means talking to each other. Talk with the speakers and the performers and teachers. Come talk to me and get angry about the changes that remain unmade. But then reflect on what needs to be done, build communities, and do it. Thanks.